Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So it's been a few days now since Smokey Robinson has been asked about the rumor that him and Diana Ross are Michael Jackson's real parents. I believe the way it is that they don't have an option now. I don't believe that Diana Ross can accept going around and denying that Michael Jackson's her son, like being asked that actual question and this late in her life and stuff. I don't think that she can go around and say, no, Mike, I think it's one of those things. I just think it would be so hard for her to say, Michael Jackson is not my son, because Michael Jackson is her son. I don't think she's able to do that. And I don't think she wants to do it. And then to be asked these questions. Plus, what about her kids? And her kids, are the kids going to be asked these kind of questions from the media? It's one of these things that. So I just think, and it's true. Now, if it was not true, then they easily could just come out and say no. But that's going to be a much more difficult thing because it is true, and I've got the evidence to prove that it's true. First of all, right there. And then second of all, can they actually do it as human beings, at this point in their life? It's like I'll be so disappointed if Diana and Smokey, either one of them, if they come out and say, no, I am not the father of Michael Jackson. If they come out and make it real clear like that, I'll be real disappointed. So I actually think that what's happening is that they're putting the pieces in order and stuff, right? They're trying to figure it out now that they're like, okay, how do we expose this? We have to tell the truth now and then go on with our lives after this now has come out and stuff, right? So I do think that that's what's going on with them, and I think that they'll, within the next couple weeks and stuff, we'll have a press conference and they'll tell the truth and stuff. But I think it has to happen soon too, because it's like, what are they going to stay in hiding and stuff and not answer any questions until they have their press conference and stuff? So like I said, I don't know. We'll see what's happening and stuff. And I haven't gotten you. I've seen that there's been a lot of people have spoken about it, but most people are just saying oh, Smokey just laughed at it and stuff, right? And then one of the people, the Vanity Fair, in the Vanity Fair, the person said, okay, yeah, but he said, Smokey didn't answer the question. He said, I'm just pointing it out. He said, I'm just saying. That's what he said, something like that. Just point out, okay, but don't look at it. Don't forget, Smokey didn't answer that question, right? Because he couldn't. He was shocked and stuff, right? And this is why this person here, I'm going to show you this little piece of the video and what I'm going to say to him. This is KARIM BLIZ JOHNSON, right? So I had just seen a video of this where he had said something. I saw that he was probably talking about the Smokey and Diana thing. And so I was watching it and stuff. Mostly he's talking about he's mostly complaining that Smokey was giving out the tea, the gossip and stuff, that he's spilling the business and stuff. Old news stuff that he shouldn't be saying and stuff. Mostly that's what this guy was complaining about. And then he did come up to where he brought it up to say, and then he says, because he's saying here, what's happening when they're going to ask you other questions? And he says, like the thing about the rumor about you and Diana being Michael Jackson's mom. And then he just brushes over that and he says, oh, that's just old news and that's an old hood story, whatever. He says, I'll play that part for you here and stuff, right? But what this guy doesn't know is the reason he says that is that guy doesn't think that that's the true story, right? He knows now that the Diana and Smokey has had sex. He doesn't think that that this actual story that's the actual big story, the one that's the real one, is that Diana and Smokey are Michael Jackson's actual parents. Because this guy doesn't actually have any of the evidence. He doesn't know anything about that. And what he doesn't know is that when they asked Smokey that question, the reason Smokey was so shocked is because people might have speculated to Diana Ross being Michael Jackson's mother. People might have speculated to Michael Jackson not being a Jackson, that maybe even Berry Gordy was his father, right? There's all these other speculations. But the one speculation that's never been said directly, it's that Michael Jackson is the son of Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson specifically. And the reason I specifically say that, because I actually have the evidence to back it up. That's what I'm going to show you here, right? And that's why Smokey was so shocked, is because he's like, oh my God, somebody actually specifically said that? Diana and Smokey are the parents of Michael? And he said, and that's why he said, I never heard that before. Nobody specifically has ever said that. That's not happened. So when this guy's dismissing my story like it's just some kind of hood story and stuff, that's because he doesn't know the story, right? So here, let me just play this little piece of this guy talking here.
Picture him going to Angela Yee. Keep playing, and they gonna dig deep. Cause Smokey, it was rumors that you and Diana Ross are the real parents of Michael Jackson. That's an old folk tale. Did you really get into Diana? Like how long did y'all have very intimate contact, Smokey? Mr. Robinson,
Okay, so that's what. So see, he kind of just brushes over my story. Because he doesn't understand who I am and how this rumor is actually why it's being asked now, is because I've done the investigation and stuff, right? And that's why I name Diana and Smokey, and I name the people and I name the stuff because I have the evidence to back it up. I'm a whole different beast here and shit, right? I'm not just people spreading little gossip rumors and shit, right? And this is not barbershop talk, right? This is serious, hardcore, investigative journalism stuff, right? But I'm just a loser. I'm just a real world loser and stuff, and that's why, like you, Mr. KARIM BLIZ Johnson and stuff, right? The reason I'll make this video for you and stuff is because, look at, I know that people are going to have a hard time dealing mentally with what's going to come. And because they have all these stuff with all the conspiracy stuff, when my story breaks, people are just going to start thinking all these conspiracy stuff. They're not going to be able to just deal with the simple reality. Look at this is just a girl that had a crush on a boy and she got pregnant. And it just so happened to happen right at the time of where Motown was being created. But they don't know Motown's about to, they don't know that. It just so happened, these are the people that were right there on the scene, right as Motown is getting developed and being created. Then they all become big stars, and then Michael Jackson becomes the kid. It's a crazy story. But they don't know that when they give Michael away. When they're just trying to build a record company, they're trying to make it. They're none of them. Berry Gordy's not of Motown. That stuff hasn't happened. It's right. That's right in the beginning stage of when all this stuff happens and stuff, right? So all this stuff, all the conspiracy, people always want to make all this conspiracy stuff, and it's like, well, there's stuff that they did with the songs. There's stuff that plays on the conspiracy stuff, but it's not the conspiracy stuff of what all the people think and stuff. My story's not like that and stuff, right? My story's just hardcore evidence. So let's get into it and stuff, right? Do I have the evidence and the facts to back up what I'm saying or not? And you're going to see exactly why I know what I'm talking about, because I have their eyewitness testimonies speaking on it and stuff, right? So this is Diana Ross in 1991 on the Arsenio Hall show, and Arsenio asks her who was her first love, right? This is this part.
But who was your first love, though? Yeah, who was that?
You mean, are you talking about man, or are you talking about man love?
Oh, yeah, I should have specified that, I'm sorry.
Gibbs Smokey Robinson was my first love. I really loved him. I have stories. People think my life or my career started with Motown, but really it started with Smokey. Smokey lived on Belmont. We lived on the same street. Mm-hmm. I was very close with his cousin, Sharon Burston. Mm-hmm. And I used to sleep over. Our kids had sleepovers at Sharon's house, and I used to listen to the Miracles sing in the basement. And that was before I came to Motown. That was before the Supremes. And to me, I loved him. Because there was a time where when I first heard his record on the radio and I realized that you might be able to sing and make a record, I mean, it was like major time. So I think maybe first love of maybe was Smokey.
Okay, so now, when I first started my investigation starts about 6 months after Michael Jackson has died, and then I have the vision thing where I see Michael morphing into Diana, and I asked the question at that time, could Diana Ross be Michael Jackson's mother, right? And that's where my investigation starts. That's how it all starts, right? So I don't know Smokey's even in the picture. I'm a Michael Jackson fan. I'm not a person that was like a Motown fan, right? So I don't know all the history of Motown. Of course I know Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. I obviously would know songs that they sing and stuff. I would know a lot of, it's one of those things that just, I'm an American who likes music and stuff. Of course I know history of Motown, even without even trying. I know a lot about that stuff, right? But I don't know about, that's what I'm just trying to say. Yes, I know a lot about that stuff without even knowing, but I don't know. When I think about Michael and Diana, the rumors would be that Michael was trying to look like Diana Ross through the surgeries, and that Michael and Diana were having relationships, that they had some kind of relationship, like a sexual relationship. That's the knowledge of what I would have had, right? When I first said, could Diana be Michael's mom, right? So I didn't know anything about Smokey and the history about Diana and her old history at Motown. So I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know the urban legends. Not much. I know maybe a little bit. There might be a little about the Berry Gordy and Michael Jackson. Maybe there's something like that and stuff because they play on that on the American Dream movie. But so little stuff like that. But anyways and stuff, right? My investigation starts just with, could Diana be Michael's mom? So I instantly look up the birth dates because now I'm looking at Michael Jackson's birth conception taking place there in Detroit with Diana, right? Now I'm not looking in Gary, Indiana anymore, right? Now I'm looking for the answers in Detroit with Diana at that time. And what turns out is that Diana at the time of conception, she's coming upon 14 years old. She's not even 14 years old, right? So like when I first looked that up, that was the first thing I looked up. At first I thought, oh, that's not good. But then it turned out that turned out to be the whole reason for everything to happen, is that she was young and in love with Smokey. And then I'll explain a little more. But then it happens right as they're building Motown. And so Berry Gordy couldn't risk having Diana having a kid, being 14 years old, from the guy that Barry's trying to build Motown around, Smokey now, who's 18, right? So that ends up being the reason they got to get rid of the kid, is because Diana was young, right? So what Diana said in this interview here is that she says that her first love was Smokey. She says that she used to sleep over because she lived a few doors down from Smokey on Belmont. And she used to sleep over at Smokey's house because she was best friends with Smokey Robinson's, it's his niece. I think she might say cousin this one, but it's his niece, Sharon Burston. So what happened is Smokey Robinson's mother passes away when Smokey's 10. And Smokey has an older sister who's 17 years older than him. So she's 27. Smokey's older sister, who has a family and children of her own, moves into that house where Smokey was being raised by his mother. Smokey's sister moves into that house there on Belmont and raises Smokey. Now he's being raised in that house by his older sister, and she's living there with her family, and Smokey's being raised there now that way because Smokey's mother had died. And so Smokey's sister has children. One of her children is like Diana's age, and they become really good friends. This is part of how Smokey becomes such good friends with Diana. This is that hidden little thing that's there that nobody really talks about. It's the Sharon Burston, that Diana's friends with the Sharon Burston, and because of that, that allows Diana to sleep over at her friend Sharon's house, because that's what Diana Ross's parents aren't going to let her go sleep at Smokey's house, but they'll go let her sleep at Sharon's house, but that's the same house and shit, right? But it's just 3 doors down, right? So Diana's able to sleep in the house, but as Diana's saying here, she's not just sleeping in that house, and Smokey's not just a friend of hers. She's in love with Smokey Robinson, right? And then Diana nails down the date. She says, there was a time when I realized that you can actually make a record and it'll be on the radio. Okay, that's Smokey's song. Right after Smokey meets Berry Gordy in August of 1957. That's when Smokey Robinson meets Berry Gordy in Brunswick Records deal. See how I got the facts? I'm not just some like loser here creating some story out of like I don't know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I got the evidence to back it up. And that's how this rumor has got started. This is not just some rumor that's taken place, some urban legend stuff. No, this is a guy out here who's done a serious investigation, who's got the facts and the evidence to back it up, to the point now where somebody actually had the balls to ask Smokey, hey, are you and Diana Michael's parents? They didn't tell him the whole stuff. Like, I don't know how much the guy knows, because I wish the next step, it's the next thing, because somebody's going to say, hey, have you heard of an American scheme? He's got evidence saying this is not just some like rumor. He has evidence, and this is why he's saying it. And this is what I'm showing you here in this video. That's why I'm making this video. And this is just a piece of the stuff I have. I have piles of stuff, right? This is just a piece, right? So Diana is explaining that she heard Smokey's song on the radio, like I said. So Smokey met Berry Gordy in August of 57. So Michael's born in August of 58, a year after that. So Diana, the thing is that Smokey, when he meets Berry Gordy, and so he comes back and he's telling, hey, I met Berry Gordy and this is what happened, right? And so Diana can't be in Smokey's band because Claudette's already in the band. And then Smokey can't be, Diana can't be Smokey's girlfriend because Claudette's Smokey's girlfriend. She marries Claudette in about another year or so. They marry, whatever, but they're not married at that time. But Claudette's already there at that time, right? And then Diana's about to move off of the block on her 14th birthday on March 26th is when she moves off of Belmont. She moves into the Brewster Douglas housing projects, right? And then she changes schools. She goes to the Brewster Douglas, which conveniently coincides with her being the pregnant thing, right? Because then that's how the part of they were able to cover it up, right? Because it's like, well, we'll have her change schools. It's summertime. She could start back up school when after she has the kid, because that'd be August 29th. Right, you know, that's like right at that time. So it's like, yeah, I think that's how they did it. They worked it, you know, she had the kid, then she went back to school. So I don't think it was that hard, but they did it. They covered it up. They made it, she just laid low for a few months. And then she gave the kid away when she had the kid and stuff. But the song that she was talking about is the Got a Job song, which comes out in, it's February or March of 1958. And that's when she was saying, when I heard you can make a record. So that was that thing right at that time when she actually sees Smokey hook up with Berry Gordy. She sees him make a record and it's on the radio. And now she's pregnant with Michael. Then when they ask her, hey, can you get rid of the kid because this is what we need you to do because this situation, and then she does it. And then that's how then she's got the connection now. She's got leverage over Berry Gordy and all them, how she moves her way into Motown, becomes the lead singer of the Supremes, all this stuff. She gets labeled with this title, this boss, because she's got this attitude that comes connected with her, which nobody else has, and everybody can see that she has it. And that's why she gets labeled the boss. Is because she'd given her kid away and nobody knows about the secret. So she had leverage over them and she used it. And that's how all these things happen and stuff, right? So then you get, this is 1970. So this is just basically like right after the Jacksons have signed to Motown, right? So Diana Ross is basically kind of just known Michael for maybe a year, right? Michael's part of the Jackson family. There's all the brothers and sisters. There's a mom and dad in the house. It's the Jacksons, right? So, but look at how Diana is excluding Michael instantly. This is taking place in 1970. And at this time, there's parts of what's happening in the early days of when the Jacksons go to Motown that they're living in Diana Ross's house. So that's a technicality thing. We'd have to get the specifics to find out what's going on further. But there is a thing going on there too. And then Michael even says, like in his book Moonwalk, that Diana would take him out while that time that they were living at her house. Michael says that Diana would take him out alone almost every day over a period of a year and a half. That's what he says, right? So it's like, okay, so that's a lot of going out alone. That's what I'm saying. It's like to get the actual, we don't know. Like nobody knows this story. Well, what do you mean? Where are those photographs? What actually happened all the time? What was going on? So we don't have a lot of that stuff. But this is one of the things that we have that is taking place during that time of what they're talking about. And the other thing is what's occurring here is that Diana's probably starting to film the movie The Lady Sings the Blues movie, right? Because that is becoming important too, right? So she's also starting that because this is like I said, Michael's here with Diana. They're in LA. And Diana's in LA too, starting to film the movie Lady Sings the Blues. That's what's taking place right at that same time when the Jacksons come there, and that's when the Motown starts to move to LA, and it's revolving around making movies, and that's The Lady Sings the Blues. So this is 1970. So this is like the setup of all those things that are occurring and stuff. But in reality, Diana's just met Michael, like I said, and he's supposed to be part of the Jackson family. But now watch this. Listen how she talks about Michael.
We have one of them in the audience here with us.
Where?
We have Michael Jackson somewhere out there. Is he out there? Where is he? There he is. That's my child.
Hey.
That's Michael.
Don't you know anybody? You get a better seat?
He's being incognito.
Oh.
You know, they've made me work hard because I want to be something. I mean, I am. Michael has always been like a son or a brother or something to me, and they admire me sort of like. So I try very hard to keep up such an image for them. And when I do a show like this, they usually sneak Michael in. I really didn't know he was going to be here. I heard about it, and I was hoping that he was here because it makes me a little bit stronger because I'm doing it basically for him.
Yeah, I'm doing it basically for him and stuff. That's this a little clip. It cuts off right there, so I had to cut it off really quick. She says, it makes me a little bit stronger because basically I'm doing it for him. You know, for him. Why is she doing it? Why is she working so hard for him? you know. And if she's doing it for him and for the image and for the children and stuff, well, where's the other Jacksons and stuff? Why aren't any of them there? You know, if she wants to show them the Jacksons, and it should be the Jacksons, you know? And why is the Jackson parents allowing that to happen? Allowing Diana to have this dynamic relationship, in the relationship with her and Michael outside of the Jackson family and stuff, right? So when you actually look at this, first of all, just the fact of that how it is that it's occurring with her there alone with Michael, it's odd in a lot of different ways. But when you hear in which the way she's speaking about Michael, and remember, like I said, this is just as Michael's come to Motown. So this is early in the days now where Diana has been reunited with her abandoned child that she abandoned. When she abandoned Michael, she didn't know that the Jackson 5 was going to happen, that they were going to come to Motown. That's no guarantees that that's what's going to turn out, you know? So when she's back and reunited with Michael at this time, you got to imagine how happy she is, you know? And she shows it right here in this kind of interview. And she's like documenting stuff. There's a stuff of where she wanted to leave stuff behind to document the reality of what had happened and stuff, right? But you know, so it's just the weird stuff. This is the real thing of what happened though. But she's saying Michael's my child. She says he's always been. She says, well, he is like a son to me. He's like a son or a brother. She says, you know, she's saying all of that stuff. But that's what's going on here. When you actually go back and look on it now, and we look at it, understanding that she is Michael's mother, that she had abandoned him, and we understand the true story, then we see what's actually taking place here, and you see in which way the conversation and what she's speaking. Now we have understanding of what's actually taking place, right? So let's go ahead and go to another one. So like I was saying. That was 1970. This is the movie Lady Sings the Blues, which came out in 1972. So like I said, right around that time, that's when Diana is filming this movie and stuff, right? And this is a big part of my story because Billie Jean, I say, is Diana Ross. And it's a big part about that story because this is when I say what the story of Billie Jean's about is that Diana tells Michael that she's his mother at that time, like when I showed you that interview on the Merv Griffin, and Michael was living in her house, like he says in the book Moonwalk. So it's at that time, like, and then Michael says in the song Billie Jean, he says, she came and stood right by me, then the smell of sweet perfume. This happens much too soon. She called me to her room. Like he says, but then he says, Billie Jean's not my lover, but he just told you something happened in the room, but he tells you Billie Jean's not my lover. What is it that happened, and what happened too soon? What it is that Michael was of that age, what I was just showing you there, early on that days when they had just signed to Motown, and he's hanging out with Diana, and then they're staying in Diana's house, and like I said, she came and stood right by me, and she calls me to her room, because she's in charge, and she called Michael to her room, and she told Michael the truth, that she was his real mother. That's what Billie Jean, the song Billie Jean's about. That's when it took place, right? So at that time when Diana there was having that relationship with Michael, she's filming the movie Lady Sings the Blues, right? And so this is a part from Lady Sings the Blues.
Wait a minute. What'd you say your name was?
Eleanor.
Ellen. Ellen who?
Billie. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, that's my name.
Okay, Billie.
Okay, Billie. I mean, when you look at her too, see, this is the movie I was watching, and then I saw her in this movie because of like her age and stuff, and she just looked so much like Michael, and then it was like Michael was morphing into her in this movie. And so that's how I made the discovery, and I asked the question, I wonder if she could be Michael's mom and stuff. That's how it all starts. And then so it turns out is that this is the origin of the name Billie for the Billie Jean, and because she's filming this movie, this is the movie that's taking place at the time that Michael's living in her house, and Michael's having that relationship like I just showed you on the Merv Griffin and stuff, right? That's what the song Billie Jean's all about. And that's the thing too, is like, I'm not spilling tea and I'm not telling secrets that shouldn't be told, because the secrets I'm telling is stuff that Michael Jackson told himself in his own songs. So I can't ever be accused of telling the song secrets that he didn't want told, because he told it himself, right? So this is the first line in Billie Jean. She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. Okay, so just like I showed you in the movie, in the Lady Sings the Blues, right? So I could go through this whole song, it just takes time and stuff, right? But just showing you a couple pieces so you can see that I can put this stuff together. She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene, because Michael Jackson was very familiar with Diana Ross, the singing star of the Supremes, right? But at the time that he signs to Motown, he's going to live in her house, and now she's about to tell him that she's his real mother. at that time, she's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene because she's filming that movie, Lady Sings the Blues, and that's where the Billie Holiday, that's the character Billie Holiday, that's where the name Billie comes from for the Billie Jean. That's what the song's actually about and stuff, right? So that's what I say too, is like, if anyone want to say I'm telling secrets and stuff, no, they put this stuff there because they wanted the secrets to be told and stuff, right? That's how it goes. So, this is a clip now of Diana. I don't know what year this is, but let's just say it's somewhere around 1990, somewhere around there and stuff, because they're talking about surgeries and stuff, right? And there's a thing with I've recently found out is that Michael and Diana have the same eyes, but there's a name for it called Sanpaku Eyes, and this can't be done through the surgery stuff. This is a thing that happens through your birth and stuff, right? So that's the kind of thing is that, like, when the people make a joke about the surgery, so that doesn't have anything to do with Sanpaku Eyes and stuff. That's another thing that I bring up and stuff, right? It says that doesn't have anything to do, they got the same eyes, and the surgeries wouldn't have any, that's not even in question that it has anything to do with that and shit, right? But it's just stupid. So, but the other thing is, when they're talking about the surgeries, when he makes the joke, that confirms that there was the joke about Michael trying to look like Diana through the surgeries, right? But in the reality of what it was is like what Diana tells right here. It's not the surgery. She tells you, Michael could be part of my family because we have the same bone structure. She says, Michael could be part of my family. We have the same bone structure. So when she's saying the similarities, what you see in me and Michael, are because we could be, he could be, she's basically saying he could be part of my family and shit, right? That's what she's saying. That's why it is. Listen.
Could be part of my family.
Yes.
We have a lot of the same bone structure and a lot of skin color.
Michael does now because he's had it all done.
Do
you take that as a compliment?
Cannot. I refuse you to insult Michael. He's a friend of mine. I love him, and I don't like people making fun of him.
No, but we.
Ok, Clive, c'est le moment de la fermer.
Is he?
Okay.
I get real serious when I talk about Michael, and I think we should really kind of look at his life with compassion. He makes incredibly good, I want to say the bad word, good music. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah, so she starts off with that when she says, like, Michael could be part of my family. A lot of our bone structure is the same, or our skin color is the same. So we have the same bone structure, right? So just the fact that she would be talking about Michael being, why could Michael be part of your family? Because you have the same bone structure? What? Not because you have some similar talent or whatever, you know, whatever. No, they have bone structure. Bone structure comes because you have family lineage. Right? That's what she's talking about. And so, like I said, this is not me making up stuff. This is them telling it. She was telling it themselves. She wanted this story to be told. That's what I'm telling you. I have the evidence to back it up. And now they know that this evidence is out there. Once they've seen, or they should know, as soon as they know that I've got them, they're going to tell the truth. Because they are the parents of Michael, and Diana and Smokey are Michael Jackson's parents, and this story is about to break right now. Actually, I think it's going to break within the next week or so. This is about to happen and stuff, right? So I'm kind of just nervous waiting for it to happen. So I was like, well, I'm gonna make another video and stuff. I wanted to make a video showing some of the evidence and stuff, just so you guys could see some of the good, solid, basic evidence of things I have. That's like, if I was asking the questions of Smokey and Diana, it'd be a whole different conversation. They'd be after answering a whole bunch of different types of questions, stuff that nobody's ever asked them before. And then so you take it all the way. This is Michael Jackson's will. So then it says, if any of my children are minors at time of my death, I nominate my mother, Catherine Jackson, as guardian of the person and estates of such minor children. If Catherine Jackson fails to survive me or is unable or unwilling to act as guardian, I nominate Diana Ross as guardian of the persons and estates of each minor children. I subscribe my name to this will, Michael Jackson. Right? So Diana Ross is in Michael Jackson's will right after the Catherine Jackson, and when Michael Jackson gets his inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, he says, "I'd like to thank Diana Ross, who is my second mother." You know, so like I said, this is not just something that's like I'm just making up. This is something that's been consistently put out there by them. You know, but when you understand the the complexity, the totality of the whole story, like I said, when you go back and find out Diana was sleeping in Smokey's house and she was in love with him, that took place right at the time of where Michael was conceived. And then you find like the real timeline. You find it all. You go the whole way, like with Michael going to the Jacksons, right? You find out that Michael, if you take the name The Miracles, right? Because so then what happened with the Miracles is right at that same time they had to change their name from the Matadors. They changed it from the Matadors to the Miracles, right? And that's right when Diana's getting rid of the kid, too. So in the name The Miracles, you can spell the name Michael. So that's why I say Michael the Miracle. That's what I say. I think that's where his name comes from. Even that's where Michael's name comes. There's like, when you follow this stuff. So then you go with Michael, you go to the Jacksons. And what happens in the Jacksons movie? They say, when Michael's born, they say, oh, they say, Catherine's mother is there, and then they don't even have a name for the child. So they're telling us we're supposed to believe that Catherine and Joe never had any discussions about the naming of their child prior to Michael being born, because the reality of the situation was weren't going to name that. They didn't know. They weren't pregnant with the child. They just know they're getting a baby. They don't think they're naming the kid. They just know they're going to get a kid, right? And the naming, and that's not being discussed, right? And that's why you've got the problem there, and they show it in the movie that they didn't even come up with the name for the child. So then they say that Catherine's mother calls it Michael, but the reality is that I think Diana called him Michael the Miracle. I think that's how Diana says, here's Michael, right? Then that's why they put the name Joseph as the middle name. That shows the cover-up, because if you look at any of the children prior to Michael, and even the child right before Michael had died, they had the twin boys, and one of them died, none of them have Joseph's name anywhere. So if the importance of putting Joseph's name on any children would have been important at all, it would have happened before Michael. But it didn't happen, which shows evidence, that shows a chain of events, a trend, that Joe didn't want his name on his children. Because if he did want it, it would have happened before. But it's not there, which shows you that he didn't want it on his children. But that's why Michael ends up with it, because they need to cover it up. Because they're like, we need to cover it. That's what I'm saying. That shows the cover-up that Michael has the name Joseph. It's part of the cover-up, and it shows the cover-up. It shows they didn't know, they admit that they didn't name Michael. Then Joseph's name appears on there when Joseph's name never appeared on any of the children before. You can see the cover-up right in his name. There's all this stuff, right, when you get into it, right? So, like I was saying, I've done a serious investigation. My stuff is the real stuff, and I just go on and on. You go all the way up to them getting to Motown, then Diana's there, like all the stuff, and then the songs. It goes on and on and on, all the way till Michael's dead. Then there's Diana in his will. Like I said, my story follows the chain of events from Michael's conception all the way to his death, right? And now we're up into the time where somebody's actually, I've done this investigation, I've been fighting for it, getting the information out there. But like I said, I am just a loser and shit. I'm not afraid of saying that shit. I am just some loser, white trash, fucking trailer trash loser, fucking loser and shit. That is who I am and shit, right? So I'm not afraid to say that, and that's made it hard for me to get the investigation out properly. But I have done the right investigation. The investigation has been done properly, and it's out there now, and it's true, and I've got the evidence to back it up. So to me, it's just inevitable that Smokey and Diana have to tell the truth about this, and they want to. Do you really think after all this stuff, and like the stuff I just showed you, do you really think Diana wants to go out there and have to say, Michael Jackson's not my son? Do you really think she wants to say that? No, she wants to go out there and say, Michael Jackson is my son. She wants to say that. And she is going to say that. It's going to happen soon and stuff, right? Okay, so I thought I'd make a video for you guys and stuff. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.